Hey Downers! From now till the end of the year, you can join the Downers Club and support the show for as little as $1 a month. As a club member, you'll get all of the bonus episodes that we do every single week and access to our exclusive Downers Club Facebook group. This is a limited time offer, so get in there before 2018 and check out all the fun we're having for just $1. For more information, check out tsidpod.com/support. The following is a Goulash Media production. goulashmedia.net.
Welcome to the System is Down.
What's up, Downers? Welcome back to the least comfortable show on the web. The System is Down. My name is Dan Smots, and you may or may not know, but there was a terrorist attack this week. On October 31st, 2017, a man in a rented Home Depot truck drove up a bike lane and killed 8 people. And the reason why I say you may or may not know is because it doesn't seem like anybody cares. It seems like as quickly as this came, it was gone. There's been so little reporting spiraling around this, so little discussion. It just seems kind of strange. It might be because we so recently had the attack in Las Vegas on Mandalay Bay with the shooter. People are still kind of recouping from that, so they aren't paying attention to this. But this is being called the biggest terrorist attack in New York City since 9/11. So it should be kind of a big deal, but it doesn't seem to be getting the attention that you would assume it would have. Now, we're only a couple days out from this attack. It happened on Tuesday, and it is now Friday, November 3rd. And I've been doing some digging, looking at some news interviews, some articles and things like that, trying to piece things together. And, of course, things just don't seem to completely add up for me. And, of course, with my conspiracy brain, nothing ever adds up and everything's strange. But I'm not making any definitive claims. I'm not saying it was a false flag or wasn't. I'm not saying people did or did not die in this event. All I'm saying, as always, is here's what I'm finding. Do with that what you want. Let me know what you think. And I'm not trying to hide anything. I have nothing to hide. So if you're listening to this and you have different information, or you're in the future and new things have come out, feel free to let me know. Let me know in the comments, or you can come let me know directly by joining our forum, where we have these uncomfortable discussions and talk about what we do on the show every day. So if you want to be a part of that, you can come let me know at tsidpod.com/forum. So this episode is a conversation that I had with my brother. I called him up and said, hey, there's some shady stuff that seems to be going around this one too. And we got on the phone, just chatted about it. If you enjoy this episode, that's basically what Craig and I do on a weekly basis, sometimes multiple times a week. We do that for bonus content for our Downers Club members. We also release a bunch of other bonus episodes. We do South Park recaps that I do with Brian McWilliams from the Lines of Liberty podcast, and I also frequently do extended interviews with the more interesting guests that I have on the show who are willing to give me extra time. So if you want access to that, again, go to tsidpod.com/support and help support this show and keep us going and get a bunch of fun free stuff at the same time. We also have merch available in our store. We've got a bunch of shirt designs. You can find that by going to tsidpod.com/shop. And I've got links to all this stuff. They'll be in the show notes, the show description, all that stuff. So go check all that out. And I'd say that is way more than enough commercials for the beginning here. Without further ado, let's get weird. My guest today is non-existent. He's hardly even a guest at all. He's here more often than I invite him to be. My brother, Craig Smolt. Craig, how's that pipe?
You force me to be here almost every time I'm on here.
I don't believe you.
Let's record now. But I'm in the middle of a thing. Stop doing your thing and let's record.
It's mutual.
Now.
Be honest. You do the same thing to me.
It's usually like, I don't care about your thing. Let's just record in the middle of your thing.
Yep. So today we are talking about the attack that happened this week on October 31st, Halloween 2017. where a man allegedly drove a Home Depot truck, down a bike lane and killed, I think the number is currently 8 people. Craig, have you looked into this attack and case at all?
Very, very little. I've read headlines. That's about as far as I've gotten with it.
Yeah, so this is not going to be an Ole Demigard breakdown by any stretch. It's going to be, and I'm not even saying it's a false flag or anything. I'm not making any claims necessarily. I'm just going to point out the things that I've noticed and found and let you determine from there. With all of these things, it's like, if this was a legitimate thing and people died, then I feel bad for it. If not, we need to point out some issues with it, and I don't know, just need to look at it. It just bothers me that people are like, well, you shouldn't start breaking this stuff down right away. It's like, why should we not? Like, it's investigating, like, facts in a crime scene. Like, you should absolutely be looking at it right away.
Well, it's kind of like the LA shooting really kind of expressed to me the importance of getting in and getting the information right away, because the information disappears almost as quickly as it happens. It's like within a day, all the alternative like thoughts and stuff are completely gone, or any like original interviews that might contradict the official story, you can't find them anymore. So if you don't get in there right away, you're not going to find some of those interviews or some of those people talking, or some of those facts that you can possibly pull out the hours that it's taken place, because people are just saying whatever because it's in the moment. Nothing's really scripted in the moment. So
right. Yeah, and like we said Ole said on the Ole Damagard video, the stuff just starts disappearing. Like these videos, you'll look it up one day and be like, oh, that's very interesting. Let's look into that more. And if you don't download it then, it might not be there the next day. Oh. So I think that's kind of the main reason why I want to throw this out there. Again, not to say this is a false flag, but to say here's some information, and if it doesn't get taken down, you'll at least know what I've found at this point, and you can do with that whatever you want. So I'll just start digging into some of the things. So this guy, he rents a Home Depot truck, which I know now you can rent a Home Depot truck for $19.99 a day, which is a good deal because there's a giant billboard on the side of the truck for that, which seems a little strange in its own. And I'm pretty sure Ole said something to the effect of, like, some of these are legitimate ads. I don't want to like quote him too much because it was a long interview and I don't remember a lot of it. I might be putting words in his mouth, but a lot of times there are like ads for things in all these pictures and that type of thing.
Yeah, like product placement in movies.
Right.
Like when somebody goes to drink a Coke and blatantly is holding the Coke logo straight at the camera.
Absolutely. So
you think this Home Depot sign on the side of the truck might have been product placement?
I'm not saying that it is, but I think it's strange that there's a giant Home Depot sign and then it says all the details down along the side of it, like the exact prices that it costs to rent a Home Depot truck. Just see, if that showed up in a movie, you'd be like, okay, Home Depot, whatever.
That was a shameless plug there, Home Depot.
So in the images that I've seen, which there are several that are pristine and done very professionally, there is no blood on this truck that ran over, I don't know, like 18 people and killed 8 or something to that effect. I don't remember the exact numbers. But from what I could tell, there was no blood on the truck. Did you see any blood on the truck?
The pictures I just saw a smashed up truck because supposedly it hit a school bus too.
Yes.
And the front end of it smashed in, but it wasn't a really high-def picture, except the Home Depot sign, apparently.
They have pretty high-def pictures, and there might be a tiny bit of blood in one spot, but to take out that many people, you'd think there'd be a little bit more. I don't know.
Maybe it's on the tires. Did you look at the tires?
I did look at the tires. Actually, the strange thing about this is that, about the tires is that, from the pictures that I saw, like, I couldn't see the other side of the truck, but the side that I saw, the front tire was completely flat. The back tire was completely flat. The hubcaps were totally bent to crap. The entire front end of the truck is completely demolished. and the school bus has like the side of it has impact damage, like an indent on the side, like they T-boned it. But I mean, how sharp are these bikes that they completely destroyed this truck?
Right.
I don't know.
I don't know exactly the timeline of the incident. Like I said, I haven't dug deep enough into it. Like, did he swerve into the bike lane, hit a bunch of people, and then smash into a school bus, or did he hit a school bus, then swerve into the school lane, or the bike
No,
lane?
so what they're saying from the last time that I heard was that this school bus driver saw this happening, that he was mowing them down in the bike lane, and he came over and cut him off, which I don't know. I would have to. I'm not a forensic expert or analyst or anything, but like it seems a little strange that like how good are this guy's reflexes that he could see this going on, and he was T-boned from the looks of it. Like the school bus was T-boned, and
Right.
he would have had to like if he was coming at him perpendicular. He would have to see him from a mile away and see that it's going on. If he didn't, then he'd have to like hook a hard right angle and cut him off. I don't really understand how that happens, but I'm not saying that it can't.
Was there an event going on at this time? Was this like a because it was on Halloween? Was this like a big event? Was it during busy time or what? Because I mean, neither of us have grown up in the big city or really spent much time in a big city.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to imagine that, like, if somebody swerves into the bike lane and hits one person, the rest of the people you'd think would scatter out of the bike lane.
Well, from what it looked like, it was like set apart from the road, like a separate lane, and there's like a foliage in between. So he just went up, basically up a sidewalk, taking these guys out. So there wasn't a whole lot of room to scatter. But yeah, the school bus, I've heard multiple things on. People have said this school bus driver was a hero because he took him out and there was nobody on the bus. Which, if there were people on the bus, you would think he'd be kind of, an asshole by putting their lives at risk, swerving in front of him. So I heard that there was nobody on the bus. I also heard that there were a couple children that got injured when the bus got hit. Don't know how that happens unless they're on the bus. And I heard that there were couple adults that got off the bus after he got hit. So there's like multiple things there that I've heard, and I'm not sure which is true.
Right.
And let me I should have prefaced by saying this, but after my discussion with Ole, now I am being called a gatekeeper on YouTube. So for all of you out there who assume that because I'm giving you wrong information that I must be a disinformation shill. No, I'm just dumb. I just don't know.
Yeah, it's not that we're disinformation shills, it's that we're disinformation idiots who
Right.
don't really know what we're talking about.
Yes, not everybody in the world is as enlightened as you are. I'm sorry, but I am not one of them. I am just looking at what I see and reporting on that at this point.
Right.
So that disclaimer, I'm probably wrong on a lot of things, and I mean, this is only 2 days after it happened, so more stuff will probably come out after this. But another thing that confused me about the bus is in the photos that you see, these very high quality photos. So the bus got T-boned, and there isn't a single picture that I've seen, at least, that where the truck and the bus are both in the same picture. You see a picture of the bus, and then you see a picture of the truck, but they're never in the same picture. Like, did the bus driver get T-boned and take off? Like, I mean, why would it not? Clearly, the truck was not drivable after it got hit based on the damage that is there. Did the bus driver move?
Right. Holy hell, that truck took some serious damage. It's missing, like, pieces.
Yeah.
Lots of pieces. And no, like we had mentioned before, there doesn't appear to be any blood on the truck. It's a very white truck.
Right.
And for it to have mowed down so many people, but hang on, I'm looking at the picture right now, so that's why I'm kind of delaying.
Sure.
That is a really nice apron, though. Yeah, the whole front end, like, he had to have been going like 50, 60 miles an hour to do that kind of damage.
You would think
That
so?
doesn't look like a fender bender. Like, he was going like 15, 20 miles an hour down a
Oh,
sidewalk.
yeah.
And
He
bumped-
slammed into the side of that bus.
Right. So I mean, I'm not gonna be a scientist here, but here's one with the two in the same picture. But he must have hit the bus and spun because the bus it looks like he hit the passenger side for a regular car, so like
Right.
the passenger door side,
Yeah.
the back corner, but then his truck is completely flipped around facing the opposite direction of the bus, so he must have hit it and like deflected and bounced.
Okay.
So I got both in the same picture here, and the bus looks pretty well beat up too. So
Yeah.
he must
It took
have
a
been
hit
hauling.
in one way or another.
What
Now,
else you got for me?
In any of these photos
you
that
got
you're
any-
looking at, can you find any victims, any blood, any evidence that somebody was injured in any of this?
I heard that somebody had seen people with like tire tracks completely over them, like they were ran over, not just hit, but like ran over by the tires of the.
Like in the Looney Tunes cartoon?
Well, here's a picture of mangled bicycles in the road.
Are they mangled though? Or do they just look a
Bicycle-
little old?
Well, now that you mention it,
Yep.
okay, I'm glad you put that out.
The most I've seen as far as victims in the road, I mean, not that I want them to show necessarily like dead bodies in the road, but they're making claims that they are there, and they're showing this footage like it's right after the fact, and there's a lot of weird stuff around it. The bikes don't look like they're that damaged. They look like they pulled
These
some
bikes-
junk bikes out of a dumpster and laid them down in the road.
Here are some bikes that you can tell the wheels are completely like bent, which is pretty good sign of damage. But there's only one picture of that. But I don't see any other pictures representing people.
Yeah, and if you look at some of they have like overhead shots of the incident. There's a lot of pictures with people standing around and ambulances there and gurneys with stuff on them, no people, and there's no bodies anywhere. I mean, did we take these pictures long after the fact? Because there's
Is this
clearly
another
nothing going on there. What?
Is there people? Is this another Sandy Hook? Is there people walking in circles too?
We'll get to that.
I was looking at the road it was on to see if there was any indication that there'd be a traffic camera somewhere.
Yeah, other people I've heard say, I mean, people who live in New York have said, there's cameras all over the place, which I can't confirm that, obviously. I have no idea. Just like in a Las Vegas hotel, you would think there'd be cameras every 5 feet, but
Okay, I don't know about Las Vegas. Well, I've been to Las Vegas hotels. I didn't really look for cameras then, but I do know that the crappy little casinos here in Iowa have cameras every probably 4 feet from each other,
Right.
pointing at any possible square foot of the floor you
in
could possibly.
Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Cedar Rapids. We don't have casinos in Cedar Rapids. It's
Oh, what did
Riverside,
you, I thought
Iowa.
you said in what?
Riverside, Iowa.
Well, I don't even know where that is. Whatever.
It's smaller town. Cedar Rapids is too good for a casino.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, no, I was looking because there is an overpass, like a walk, like a sidewalk over the road.
Yeah.
And usually on the bottoms of those, they have cameras.
Yeah.
And there's a stoplight right there too, which usually there'd be a camera too, which I'm not seeing any that just stand out, but still.
Now, if you
There's
watch
gotta be.
some of the footage, I saw this in a picture first, and then I actually found the footage that the picture was taken from as a screenshot. But there is video of an Asian man on a stretcher or a gurney being wheeled out, and he's being wheeled out by a black guy, and the black guy is definitely laughing about something. And the Asian guy looks like he's in pretty good mood too, and he's just sitting up and looks pretty fine. Maybe he was a lucky one, and he's like, "Oh, that was crazy, wasn't it, you guys?"
Maybe he's just in shock.
Well, the people around him seem to be in good spirits too.
Maybe they're just happy that he's alive.
It's very nice of them, but still, you should be a little bit. I don't know. It just seems like if I witnessed a terrible thing like that and then you saved somebody, you wouldn't be walking away from it laughing.
All right.
So before we go any further, my biggest issue with this overall, I mean, I have a bunch of other stuff, but I think my biggest issue with this is that we are literally 2 days away from this happening. What is being called the biggest terrorist attack in New York City since 9/11, and nobody seems to give a shit anymore. Like, you can't find information about this. Like, it's not, doesn't even seem to be being reported on.
The social desensitizing of all things shitty has taken place, and we are witnessing it.
At the very least, yes.
The whole sex scandal thing that's going on now. It's just like, no, not Kevin Spacey. No, not this guy.
And next we'll be like, Tom Hanks, that sucks. All right, what's new?
Yeah, it's like, seriously, come on.
Yep.
It's like, seriously, stop blowing up my Facebook feed with this. Let's move on.
Right. And it's like, this happened so soon after the Las Vegas attack. And like, the Las Vegas attack was all over Facebook, everywhere. This thing was like, you had to look for it to even know that it happened.
Well, this one also, Las Vegas was odd and weird because the guy wasn't your typical guy you would suspect of it. This guy was supposedly an Arab guy with a big black beard that yelled Allah snack bar. And so
I didn't say it, you did.
Sorry to all the people that I offended. Anyway, typical Muslim terrorist phrase. Well, typical Muslim phrase that they blast all over every Muslim terrorist supposedly says right before they blow themselves up or run over a bunch of people. Like, there's always somebody in an earshot that hears that too.
Right.
Like, always. And so this happens and people are like, oh, somebody ran over these people. And then they're like, yeah, it was a Muslim. And they're like, oh, well, yeah.
Okay. Well, obviously, that's a thing.
So it's not crazy enough for people to go dig into it. Like the last one, it's just like, why did this weird, crazy white guy go shoot all these people for no reason?
Right.
At this point, we're so desensitized to Muslim terrorism that it's like, oh, okay, a Muslim ran over some people.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, so. And like Ole talked about, in his neck of the woods, like you hear about all these Muslim terrorist attacks like on a regular basis where they are done by driving a vehicle through a large crowd or whatever. And he says that he thinks it's because they're trying to cut down on your freedom to drive, basically, which might be crazy, might not be. I mean, there are some people who would say that like the bringing in of Uber and that type of thing and all these smart cars, they're going to eventually dumb us down to the point where we're not allowed to drive ourselves from place to place. They're going to take away that freedom. I'm not saying that, but it's an interesting point.
Well, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's not necessarily a bad thing. I don't know if you've seen some American drivers out there. Like, if you go to like Europe and stuff like that, people just don't drive that much. Or in the big city, people don't drive. And it's not uncommon for people to not have a driver's license. Here, somebody says, yeah, I don't have a driver's license. I'm 35 without a driver. You're like, what?
You heard it here first, folks. Craig Smollett is a globalist shill.
I'm just saying.
He's trying to take away your freedoms and your liberty.
No, I just don't think it's a bad idea to stop people from driving.
I do. But that's a whole other discussion. I mean, his basic thing was like, you create a problem so that you can give a solution to that, which actually gets your solution to your problem, which is taking away our liberties and our freedom as individuals. But that's a whole other rabbit trail, whatever. So you had messaged me. You're actually the person who alerted me to this attack, and you showed me the YouTube videos that came out on the day of. You wanna shed a little light on that?
Like I said it for the Vegas one. I'm saying it for this one. I try to avoid looking for the conspiracy theory, and then it just like something dumb just smacks you in the face. Like the Vegas thing, Keaton smacked me in the face, and I still blame Keaton for bringing on all the rest of the madness that happened with the Vegas one.
And I blame you, so subsequently I blame Keaton as well.
So this one, though, like somebody told me, because I don't watch the news, kind of like you don't typically watch the news.
I don't
So
watch or look at the news. I avoid it like the plague until
I,
it concerns me.
same here. But somebody said there was an attack in New York, so I'm just like, oh, okay. And so I just randomly just type in Manhattan truck attack, and some YouTube videos start popping up. And this was about 5 p.m. my time, and the event happened
Which
about
made it 6 p.m. their time, and it happened at 3 p.m. their time.
3 p.m. their time. Well, every single YouTube video, I'm not saying that it's a conspiracy. I just find it ironic. Every single video, not even just the YouTube videos, every video on Google Videos said uploaded 16 hours ago. Every
Right.
single one. I screenshot it to you, or
Yeah.
I screenshot it to you and I put it on the forum. Every single video said 16 hours ago, which, like I said then, it could be a Google glitch, but I've never seen that before.
Well, do you want to know what I took away from that image that you sent? I actually didn't even notice the timestamp on them before I responded to it. I didn't even notice it till he brought it up in the forum. The thing that I responded to was, you look at the screenshot that you sent, and it's like New York truck attack is the first one, the first video. Second one is 2 dead, multiple hit. The third one is at least 2 dead after hit by a truck. The fourth one is at least 4 dead hit by a truck. The fifth one is 8 dead after drivers. I mean, who are these news people? Where do they come from, and what are their qualifications? I could report the news almost as good as they can, and that is like putting a non-conspiracy spin on it. You're doing a terrible job.
It's hard to get the numbers accurately when you post the video 12 hours before the incident.
There's that also. Ignoring
hard to
that,
tell.
though, assuming that this happened like, let's say, a half hour after, when they already have their experts coming on talking about it, like, how hard is it to get the numbers? Somebody shows up on the scene, and this guy has already been stopped. You look around, say, dead, 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 dead. Like, 8 people are dead. How hard is this? It started with 2. Just in this collection of videos, how shoddy is their work that there's 2, more than 2, 4, and 8 all within the same view of each other?
If you take back a couple weeks ago to the Vegas thing, actually exactly a month ago, because the Vegas thing was October 1st. This incident was October 31st.
Yep.
Which I find kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But go back to there. If you look at the original videos from there, it was even like an hour after the incident. There were like at least like 20 dead or something like that, and I can't even remember. It was like super low numbers, like 20 dead and like 80 injured, and then it all of a sudden dramatically in a few hours jumped up to like 50 something dead and 800,000 injured or something.
Right.
The first videos that said only a low number, I think it started like 12 dead or something, but it's still like an hour after the incident happened, and it's just like you couldn't like see that there was far more than even the injured. The dead I can give you, because they could have been like, well, yeah, we don't know for sure that they're dead, but you can look around and tell there's more than like 20 something people injured.
Right.
If there was as many people injured as they said there was, it doesn't take a genius to look around and be like, wow, there's hundreds injured here.
Right. And like Ole pointed out, it's like in a lot of these attacks, they start, maybe it's just terrible journaling or journalism, but they start at higher numbers, and then like a day later, the numbers go down a little bit, then they go up a little bit. Like they fluctuate back and forth. And especially with this one, I mean, with that one, maybe I could see if it was a legitimate attack, I could see how the numbers would fluctuate as you're figuring things out. Your 24-hour news trying to get the first scoop on everything. But with this one, it's like, how long does it take to count 8 bodies and actually just say what happened? Which they're still saying 8 bodies. It has not fluctuated since then. So
Tomorrow will be 6 bodies.
Probably. So another thing that is kind of in line with like Ole, he has his concoction of things that always show up in the same incidences. There are very pristine, high quality photos, and then there's like 2 or 3 Snapchat videos, which have you seen the videos of the guy running around with the guns?
No.
There's a couple
No.
videos, and
gotta look
they're not just phone videos. They're phone videos with a caption, like somebody opened up Snapchat, took the time to type in, "There's a shooter in downtown New York City. Oh my gosh, blah blah blah." Like type up a caption and then start
Did you put
filming.
emojis in it too? Did you put like scared emoji on it?
They did not, but
Or did you put like a little dog face on him, like the little filters with Snapchat? Put like the little dog face on him.
no. Anything else?
That's all I got.
But yeah, just the idea that it's a guy from like up in a building, like an office building. He's looking out over and he sees the guy running around with his 2 guns and
Pellet guns. They weren't even real guns.
hold
They were
on,
pellet
we're
guns.
gonna get there. He's taking video of him with his guns and he's like saying he's scared for his life, but he like types a caption on it so you know exactly what's going on. Like,
If he's scared for his life, why is he at the window filming?
more importantly, if he's scared for his life, why is he typing a description about what's going on? It just feels like, you know, if they were going to make fake footage of something, type in a Snapchat, "Oh my gosh, there's a shooter in downtown New York."
Oh, geez.
Yes. OMG. But yeah, that brings us to the gun issue. So this guy, apparently, he got out of his truck after it got demolished and he had 2 guns. We now know that one of them was a paintball gun and one was like a BB gun or a pellet gun or something to that effect.
Right.
So the reasoning that I've heard for this, why he didn't have an actual gun, was that he wanted to instigate and get the cops to shoot him and kill him. Can you explain to me why a paintball gun or a pellet gun would get the cops to shoot you quicker than having a real gun? Did you just not have the money? I mean, you got your truck for only $19.99. You should be able to at least go out and get a decent gun.
Well, it is New York City, though. New York
Yeah, but
City.
you can drive up north, what, 5-6 hours. If you are dedicated to your plan and you're plotting this out and you're planning on mowing down a bunch of people, and they've said that his plan was to drive up this bike path and drive across the bridge and keep going like down this bike path for a long ways, and it was foiled or whatever. If you went through all this trouble and you're planning on dying, what's the harm in driving even like 8 to 10 hours out of the way to get a gun and bringing it back? How dedicated are you to your attack?
I don't know. Like, the gun thing's bizarre to me. Because it didn't sound like he was planning on using a gun in the first place, which maybe that was it. Maybe it's just to... Maybe it was originally just to scare people away from the window if anybody, like, tries
Right.
to get close or something.
Or like he's assuming that the cops will eventually pull him over, and if he pulls a gun, they'll shoot him through the window and take him out.
Right. Which they did shoot him in the stomach, and he's alive.
Which is
And-
another crazy thing. Like, if this is a conspiracy, which I'm not saying it is, again, but if it is, the fact that he is alive is bizarre. Like, that almost never happens.
Right. Well, maybe the cops were just a bad shot, or there's too many people filming or something, which apparently there wasn't too many people filming. But he did get shot. He ended up in the hospital. I read a headline. I didn't read the article. I'm that far behind this one. I'm like where you typically are at this point.
Yeah. This seemed like an easy one, so I thought I'd jump on it.
Apparently, he requested an ISIS flag in his hotel bed, or not his hotel, his hospital bed. If him claiming he was with ISIS didn't work, him requesting an ISIS flag from his hospital bed.
That just
That might do
sounds
the trick.
like... I mean, if
That
this is
sounds
a
made up.
movie... If this is a movie, it's like... It's like the end of the movie, and the guy is in the hospital bed, and it's like... And then he hung an ISIS flag above his hospital bed. It's, are you kidding me? Like, we got the point. You're just hamming it up. Make sure you drive the point home. Which brings me to the letter that they found. I mean, he crashed, and he allegedly has... What?
Threw a letter out the window.
Yeah, I've heard that it was in the truck, and I've also heard that it was near the truck, which...
Yeah, I heard it was outside. I read it was outside the truck on the ground or something.
Okay, that's the even more hilarious story that sounds a lot like a passport that we all know and
I was
love.
just gonna say, the ironic thing is, it was laying exactly where the passport landed from.
Yep. It's like, is this a Scooby-Doo movie? Like, guy takes a terrorist attack, blah, 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 and we found this note, and then we pulled off his mask, and he's actually got a big bushy beard, and he's a Muslim.
Then we pulled off his beard again, and he was the bad guy from Scooby-Doo.
It just sounds like bad writing. But did you hear that today Trump announced? Guess how he announced this big announcement? First of all,
Twitter.
Yep,
Twitter.
He through Twitter announced that he thinks that this guy should get the death penalty. However, he really wants him to go to Guantanamo Bay, but the legal process is going to be so stringent that he's just like, "No, kill this guy, kill him."
There's more legal stringencies to kill the guy than is to send him to Guantanamo Bay.
Well, the whole thing is like, our president. Okay, we have the biggest terrorist attack on New York City since 9/11, and our president is tweeting, "Give the guy the death penalty." Like, it's
That's how.
what
Well, that's how
world
he
do we
makes
live in
it.
right now?
Do you remember a time when the president would give an address to the nation and he'd walk out to the podium in the White House and all the
And he'd tell
reporters
you
would
things
be
you
there?
don't already know.
Yes. Donald Trump's address to the nation is from Twitter. Every address to the nation, like everything I see is Donald Trump. He condemns this act of terrorism via Twitter. I was like, that's not really a condemnation.
Well,
That's not
hopefully
really an
the
official-
terrorists are on Twitter and they're following you so they can get your response to their actions.
At ISIS attacker. That was very bad. Don't do it again.
Bad hombres.
At ISIS.
Sorry, wrong brown people. Hey, Dan Smots here. I'm taking a second to interrupt myself talking to talk about myself because, you know, I don't get paid a penny for the hours and hours that I put into creating this show for you guys in your greedy little ears, and I've got a family to feed. To make that happen, I run my own media business called Goulash Media. If you have a need in anything from video production to graphic design to audio production and beyond, you can get it all for a painfully fair price at Goulash Media. In video, I do weddings, music videos, commercials, pageants, plays, etc., etc., etc. For design, I do photo editing, album art, logos, branding, business cards, merchandise, you name it. For audio, I do engineering, production, editing, jingles, and, well, podcasts. So if you've got a media need of any kind, or if you'd just like to give a little something back and help keep my children fed, check out all the endless options at my website, goulashmedia.net. That's goulash, Goulash, media.net, where we cater to the little guy with the big vision. Okay. So there's this guy who has been like one of the main witnesses to this attack. A guy who seems like he has some sort of mental disability with a Houston Astros hat on in New York City, which is like, from what I hear, I'm not a sports guy, but from what somebody said, they're like rivals or whatever.
Well, not even the fact that necessarily the rivals. I don't know that much about it, but if you're in New York City wearing any baseball other than the Yankees,
Right.
you're probably going to get stoned. Not in a good way.
So Houston Astros guy, this was like the next day, and he's already been in like 4 or 5 interviews talking about this. Seems like he's their go-to guy. He acts like he's crazy. Like his mannerisms are just really bizarre. And he says, there was a guy in a bike lane. I thought it was a terrorist. There was a guy in a bike lane in a Home Depot truck, and your first thought is terrorism. Like, no, your first thought is, what's that guy doing? That guy must be asleep or drunk at the wheel or something.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds scripted when you say, my first thought was, this must be a terrorist, even though we haven't had any actual, brown people terrorist attacks in a while.
Yeah, that's
But-
bizarre. Why is it the people they interview, the people that come out, are always like bizarre and crazy? It's like, can't you come up with better actors than that, or
Right.
come up with somebody who has something better to say, at least if it is a real event, which highly possible. I'm not saying it's not a real event. It very well could be, but couldn't you come up with a better interviewee?
Right.
Like with Sandy Hook, it was that Gene Rosin or something like that. The
I don't
crazy
remember.
old guy that how do you not remember this? His name was Gene, and he was like overacting. Like it was like he was like at a local opera house play or something, like trying to overact
Right.
on TV. Like the children were apparently
Oh
children
yeah.
came to his doorstep.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah. You're talking about the guy where the
all,
bus driver. We're not going to talk about this now. We need to get into this topic later. But the guy where the bus
I'm
driver
just
randomly drops him off in some guy,
yes,
random
yes,
guy's
that
front yard.
And then there's the shooter's brother at the Vegas attack.
Yes.
That was just his whole interview was bizarre.
Yeah,
And then
it's
we
like
get
you can say they're like in shock or whatever, which with the shooter's brother, I can kind of see how that could make sense, but even that is just a little strange, and it happens every time. And like Ole said in our discussion, he talked about dupe and delight, where you'll have these people who are giving these interviews and they can't help but smile because they're like,
right.
I'm getting away with something, is kind of the theory. This guy is like, looks like he's about to laugh his ass off. Like, he just witnessed 8 people being murdered, mowed down, and a guy getting out of his truck and him getting shot and taken away. And he looks like it's hilarious and strange. Like, I don't know. It's just really bizarre, the whole interview. I've only watched one of them, but he's apparently done quite a few more since then.
That's crazy. I'll have to watch it. But what is it, like a homeless guy like out of a box on
He
the
looks
streets
like
or
no, he looks like he's just a bystander. But I honestly haven't found a whole lot of videos on YouTube about like the actual strange things about this. It's mostly just news stuff. And for somebody who doesn't watch the news and hasn't watched the news regularly in a very long time, watching some of these clips, like just with my new findings on like patterns and that type of thing. It's like watching like CNN and seeing him talking and smiling and stuff like that. And then CNN within like, I don't know, 5-15 minutes of the announcement of this happening, they had their terrorism analyst on to break down what they knew so far. It's like
he was on he's always on standby.
it's like, what do you do to be a terrorism analyst? Were you formerly in ISIS and now you are an expert, or
The next question is, what does he do when there's not a terrorist attack? What's his day job? Because, I mean, it's not like there's a terrorist attack every day, knock on whatever
well,
wood.
that brings up another question. What is terrorism? Because it's like, can you remember the last time that we've had one of these attacks and they were actually called terrorism? Because is it just brown people who shout Muslim phrases that are considered terrorists?
Well, if you remember back in the Obama administration, they were very quick to say, we're not calling this an act of terrorism. We're just saying this was what did they call it?
Lone gunman crazy?
Yeah, but they call it like when it's on like a citizen doing it. What do they call that?
Find your own
I don't-
words.
I don't know. Anyway, yeah, he was really quick, first of all, to say, to avoid using the term Muslim, they'd use any term besides Muslim. They'd be like, oh, it was a person of a little bit darker tint than you white people. He had a religion that was a
It was
religion
not Christian.
of peace.
Not Christian
they're-
or Buddhist, somewhere in between.
But of course, with the Trump administration, and it's like the first thing you hear is, oh, he's a Muslim terrorist. The very first things that come out was, he's a terrorist and he is a Muslim.
Right.
And I swear he said that Muslim phrase.
Yeah, I don't know. Just watching these news sources, like I got clips from ABC News and Fox and CNN and everything that I could find, none of whom I trust, but everybody is like, it's a terrorist attack. It's terror, like the new terror attack, terror. Like The word of the day is terror, everyone. Happy Halloween.
They didn't even use the word terror that much for the Las Vegas thing, which saw way more people dead.
Yeah, they didn't
And
use
was
it at
way
all
more
because it
planned
was
out.
a lone gunman white guy. So that's not
With-
terror.
Yeah, with no attachments to any group or organization, so
Right.
it couldn't have been terror.
Which brings me
even
back to
though-
the question, what is terror? Like, what does that even mean? Does it mean, like, this guy supposedly moved here from Uzbekistan in 2010, and he supposedly was converted to ISIS ideologies after that.
Right.
So you take a brown guy, a guy who has been imported into our country, and he eventually decides that he wants to follow a crazy path and kill a bunch of people, and that's terrorism. But you take a white guy, I mean, just at face value, both of these stories, a white guy who is not a part of our group, but annihilates way more people, and that's not terrorism. Like, where's the line here exactly?
Right.
Does it end at the beard?
Yeah, at the end of the beard. Definition of terrorism is the systematic use of terror, especially as a means of coercion. Usually, terrorism has like political or religious motives behind it. It usually involves the motives. So the fact that they can't figure out a motive with this crazy white guy that mowed down a bunch of people at a concert, they can't call it terrorism because they can't say it was politically motivated or religiously motivated or something of that sort. He was just, as far as they're saying, he was just a crazy white guy.
Yeah.
This guy, because of the fact that somebody was in earshot and heard him say the Muslim phrases that most Muslim terrorists are claimed to have said, that makes him a terrorism because he said God is great in Islamic or whatever language. I don't know. Muslim. Arabic. There you go. Something like that.
In Muslim language.
He said,
we're Americans, people. Deal with it.
All right.
Like I said at the beginning, we're saying what we know, which is very little.
Because he said a religious phrase, that means it was religiously motivated, which means he was a terrorist. That's like saying if that guy who mowed down all the people in Las Vegas, if he had said, by this definition, if he had said, like, bless me, Father, for I have sinned, well, now he's a terrorist because he just did that because for religious motives, based on the same definition we just gave this Muslim guy.
You would think so. Which would make the Boondock Saints terrorists.
And Boondock Saints were very much definitely terrorists.
You would think so, but instead they're praised because they're white Catholics.
They're Irish. Who likes the Irish?
So there's one of the guys, I don't remember who it was, but somebody, I think might have been the Astros hat douche that was saying like, oh, it clearly wasn't road rage, it was terror. Like, obviously this wasn't like a guy who had road rage, this was a terrorist. Again, where's the line between a guy who has road rage and decides to kill 8 people and a guy who is of a certain ethnicity, who has a certain facial hair type, who decides to kill a bunch of people? Like, maybe a guy with darker skin with a beard got road rage and decided to drive down a bike path.
And then after it all happened, he yelled like, God help me or something. It just happens to sound like God is great or something like that.
I wonder
or
what,
maybe it's just
oh
like,
shit, I fucked up
God.
is in Arabic. He gets out of his car, he's like, ah, and it's actually him saying, oh, I didn't mean to.
or maybe he yelled like, oh my God.
It's,
I mean, that
that's
can't
fair.
possibly sound that different.
Right?
Because I'm pretty sure if I like fell asleep and mowed down some people in a bike lane, I'd probably wake up and be like, oh my God.
You'd probably wake up and jump out of your rental truck, grab your paintball and pellet gun, and be like, oh my God.
That's exactly what I do after I drop my note on the ground. Maybe the note he dropped was the receipt for Home Depot. Anybody think about that? Maybe it was just his contract for the rental truck.
Well, it apparently had like symbols and whatever in the
Arabic.
language.
Again, with the notes, like there's always like a piece of paper evidence.
Yeah. It's like
Like,
none of the blood withstood the impact, but, you know, this piece of paper just floated to the ground right in front of the cop's feet.
dude, look at this. It's like an episode of CSI or something. One of those.
No, no, CSI is written way better than this. I'm
But
sure.
I'm saying when the damning evidence comes out, it's always like crystal clear. Like, oh my God, how did we not see this note that lists exactly what he intended to do?
Right.
We missed this.
Yep.
How
Yeah.
about CSI Miami? CSI Miami.
I haven't watched any of them actually, so I can't really comment on that. But so the main thing that I have watched again, it has been like news sources and just like listening and writing down the exact words that they've said, which are kind of the strangest things of all. Like within the first half hour, there were the words "appears to be Muslim extremist" that were said. It's like based on the beard, I suppose, because I'm pretty sure they hadn't found this mystery note by that point. Fox News said,
Allah Akbar. So, I mean, that's going to be enough evidence to say this is terrorism because he yelled that or said that or whatever people are saying that he said. That is going to be enough to claim this appears to be Muslim extremism because he said this.
no, that's not okay, though. It's like,
But that's what everyone's basing it
right.
off of.
That's like saying, like, if there's like a gang who has like, I don't know, has like a certain symbol
Gang.
that they flash when they kill somebody, and somebody else flashes that symbol after they kill somebody across the world or wherever, that they must be involved with that gang. Not necessarily. Maybe
You ever
they just
heard-
want to go down in history as the
Gonna
new
say-
blood who killed so and so.
Ever heard of copycats?
Right.
Like,
Have you ever
people are
watched the
like,
Saw movies?
right.
Fox News said he was they're talking about this guy who was filming it from his, I don't know, apartment complex or hotel or something. They said he was these are the exact words. I made sure I wrote them down exactly. Just listen to this outside of everything that we just talked about. These are Fox News's words. He was afraid for his life, but he wasn't so afraid that he didn't pick up his cell phone and record it.
Is that is that like trying to make him sound heroic or trying to make him sound like an idiot?
It just sounds so stupid. He was afraid for his life, but we still got it. Thanks, bro. Like,
Thanks, dude.
we want to make sure you know he was scared, but he wasn't too scared.
He's a hero. Again, if he was afraid for his life, why would he be in front of the glass window?
It's almost like they thought, well, if we put this as he was afraid for his life, people would be like, well, what the hell was he doing filming out his window, like we're saying?
Right.
But they had to include, but he wasn't so afraid that he didn't pick up his cell phone and type into Snapchat what was going on and film it from his window.
Right. So did this guy who got this video, did he get video of the truck running over bodies?
No, he was up in his ivory tower. No, he was up
Was
in
it
his
front
apartment
tower?
complex. No, and he's just looking at the guy as he's running through like a parking lot, which must have been a ways away from the truck. I'm not sure, but it looks like it's in just a regular office parking lot. I don't know, but there is no video of anybody getting run over, to my knowledge. Not that it didn't happen, but I have not seen it, nor have I seen bodies, nor have I seen blood, nor have I seen evidence that people got run over. There have been now, in my notes here, I have down from a day ago that no names were released on victims, but now we do have 8 or so victims' names that have been released. And one of them, or no, there is a group of like 8 or 9 guys who were in like a group, and apparently 5 of them were killed out of this group.
Wow.
So there's a part of me that wants to like look up and see who the other 8 guys or other 3 guys were in the group and hit one of them up. Because, again, I'm not trying to make hard claims here. I'm looking for truth, looking for evidence, and if I find somebody who is willing to come on the show and says, I just witnessed 5 of my best friends being killed, I will absolutely change my douchey thoughts and ways. But so there was a woman who came on an interview, and apparently she was a fairly old woman, and she is the only person that I've seen who said that she knows somebody who had a gun pointed at them, and it was her daughter, which, old woman, you assume that her daughter's probably in her, like, maybe 20s at least. I don't know. I might be wrong. Maybe she's blessed with a very young daughter, but who was just walking around on her own. But it's not an interview with the daughter who supposedly had the gun pointed at her. It's an interview with this older woman, and she's like very emotional, clearly, and I would be too if that happened to my kid. And she cuts off the interview and says, I gotta go find my kid. So that is like
having this interview and not finding your kid. It'd be more important to find your kid first and then go to the TV interview.
I was trying to be nice, but yes. And if her daughter is like in her 20s or something, I mean, I know that obviously, as we've pointed out, these news sources are looking for any little scrap that they can get. So if they can find somebody who knows somebody who saw something, they're going to interview that person. But there's not an interview with the daughter, to my knowledge, who had a gun pointed at her. There's just an interview with a weepy mother who needs to go find her kid as soon as she's done with this conversation.
I saw a guy pointing a gun at my kid, so I should probably go find her.
Yep. And I said earlier the word terror has been used so many times in these mainstream news sources and stuff like that when they're reporting on it. I've also heard the term lone wolf used an awful lot of times.
Really?
Yep.
I haven't heard that one on this one.
I heard it on Fox News, and I heard in another report somebody saying, yes, our parade, our Halloween parade that goes on every year is going to carry on tonight, but we're just going to pretend like this lone wolf has no impact on us, whatever, something to that effect. It's like, it's the biggest terrorist attack since 9/11 in New York City, and we're just going to go have our Halloween parade.
Right. If something was, I don't know, orchestrated here, you think maybe there's a possibility something else might happen, and it might be during this big-ass parade we're about to have.
Yes, you determine that this is a guy who is involved with ISIS. This is a terrorist attack in New York City, blocks from the World Trade Center, and you're just going to assume within the first couple hours that it has to be a lone wolf. No threat here. We took him out. We took him to the hospital, and he's in custody. Everything's fine. Go about your business, and go have your parade. Imagine that on 9/11, even if only 8 people were killed in the World Trade Center attacks.
Carry on. Carry on.
Yep. I don't know. Just bizarre.
I feel like by calling it, I don't know, it's like certain attacks they try to downplay, and certain attacks they really try to build up. And this one, they're really, I'm not trying to downplay this. If 8 people were killed and mowed over, that's a lot of people, and that sucks. But they're really, it seems like they're really building it up by first going straight for Muslim terrorism. That makes it sound really, really, really bad. B, to just utter the words, the biggest terrorist attack since 9/11. That makes it sound fucking huge, because 9/11 was huge.
Yep.
And this is the next biggest thing since 9/11.
We went from like, 1,500, 3,000, whatever people to 8. And which I first heard that quote on Fox, And they didn't say the biggest terrorist attack in New York City since 9/11. They said the biggest terrorist attack since 9/11. And I was like,
What happened to Las Vegas?
well, again, that's the terrorism debacle because he was a white guy, a lone wolf who
Wasn't politically motivated by any means.
Yep. Okay, let's get in some crazy conspiracy land stuff. Put the tinfoil hat on. This happened just a couple blocks from the 9/11 memorial. It happened on Halloween, October 31st, which, of course, there's a whole bunch of occultic speculation around. And there's a lot of speculation around October 1st, which was the other attack as well, on symbolism and significance on the dates. If you look into like the pictures that they've released, the very, very high quality pictures of these locations, on one of the fire trucks, there is a very blatant number 44. On one of the cop cars, there's also a very blatant number 44. I don't know what it means, but it's there. And I am not a numerologist or anything. I don't look into gematria or numerology or that type of thing that heavily, but it's there, and I noticed it just based on what I witnessed. I tried to dig into it a little bit right before we got on. If anybody out there has more meaning than this, please let me know. Post it in the comments. The few things that I found on the number 44 are the first and last verses in the Bible, in the King James Version, are 44 letters each. In the King James Bible, the fourth word in it is God. The 444th word in it is God. And the 4,444th word in it is God. And the word God appears 4,444 times in the King James Bible.
No, it doesn't.
That's what I found. I also found in general numerology that the number 44 represents like business and setting up structure for future generations, like establishing a basis to build off of. I don't know. These are things that I found. I don't know if they have any significance, but the number 44 shows up twice in these pictures that I noticed.
Interesting. I didn't. One time, like a lot of people will pick out a number and be like, oh, you saw the number 17 there. That's obviously symbolic. Yeah, it just happened to be there. But to see it twice, that's like,
Yep.
That
I know.
a little...
I'm generally skeptical on anything number-based. Like, oh, this number showed up. It's like, okay, well, they have to have a number on a license plate, and it just happened to be that. Maybe, I don't know. Which, if there's anybody out there who's into numerology things, the police van license plate in one of the pictures is 8520 space 14. So look into that, which I did a numerology cipher on 8520, which are the main numbers, and it looks like it shows up to be HEB because 0 isn't a letter, which I thought there might be something into Hebrews 14, which is not a chapter, but Hebrews 1:14 didn't seem that significant to me. But if there's anybody out there who digs into that stuff more, please let me know, because it seems like maybe there could be something there. I don't know. There's another fire truck that has a 1-1 on the back of their truck, and I looked and did not find a 9 anywhere else in the picture. But there is definitely 2 ones there.
Yeah, that would be bizarre. Man, what is 11? Has anybody come out and said what 11 means?
There's meaning to everything, and somebody has decided that something means something to every single number. So yes, you can find it if you look for it. I don't know. I don't know anything about that stuff, but I am open to hearing theories on things.
I will dig into, what was it, 44?
Yep.
What about Hebrews 1:4? Did you look into Hebrews 1:4 by chance?
I did not. What you got?
I don't know much, but it says, being made so much better than the angels, as he hath by inheritance obtained a more excellent name than they.
Who are we talking about here?
That's what I'm backing up to.
Is it God or the devil?
The Son of God is what it's talking about.
Okay.
So again, God. Like, you came up with that word God in every other aspect, and then this one is just describing the name of God.
Sure. I don't know, and I'm not going to pretend like there's significance in it. I'm not a shill. I'm not pretending like there isn't either, so if you have the significance, please let me know. But, yeah, a couple other things that I have down here. This guy drove 3/4 of a mile. That's it. Not that far, actually, if you think about driving at the speed that he had to have been driving before he slammed into that bus and destroyed this truck into obliteration. But 3/4 of a mile, and this bus driver perceived him doing this damage in time to cut him off at the pass. Just seems a little suspect to me. Like, if I saw that happening, my first thought wouldn't be whip a 90-degree angle and cut him off and get T-boned with maybe I do or maybe I don't have passengers on my bus. But I don't know, just a little bit weird. If it was like, this guy's been driving for like 4 or 5 miles wiping people out, maybe the bus driver was driving alongside him and whipped over and got him taken out. This is 3/4 of a mile. It's really not that far. It's like 3 blocks.
Yeah, especially going the speeds that this guy had to have been going to do that kind of damage to his truck.
Right.
I would say he could probably go 3/4 of a mile in a matter of less than 30 seconds. I mean, if you're going like 50 miles an hour, or say you're going I don't know if he's going 60. I can't even imagine he'd be up to 60 in a mile going down the bike path, but
yeah, I don't know, and it's all speculation. Again, I'm not saying it's a conspiracy. I'm not saying it's a false flag. I don't have the right to say that or the credentials to make that claim. I'm just saying this seems a little weird. As I always say, here's what I found. Now, what do you think about that? And
the question is why? Why would they, whoever orchestrated a false flag? I mean, that's the biggest thing when it comes to, oh, this must be a false flag. Well, then why? Like, I'm sure you'll get 101 person asking why, at least one person.
Well, sure. And it could be, okay, assuming, like, making the very bold assumption that this was a false flag. If it were, it could be either anti-Muslim terrorist, like we're getting back into the war on terror, we need to perpetuate something in that direction. More likely, in my opinion, it's like I said, Ole talked about all these attacks in his neck of the woods where it's something against your freedoms. It's saying, the same as, well, I mean, just look at it. It's like he could have got out of the car and shot a bunch of people with a gun. That would have given credence to, we need to take guns away. But I think we're kind of past that now. I mean, the people who think it. The people who don't aren't going to be swayed. It doesn't make any sense that he didn't have a gun, but he didn't really need to have a gun if their idea was to take away our freedom to roam as we please. And my guess would be that this is a start to a new wave of these attacks that are more mobile based, because that's been going on for a while overseas.
What if there's a side of the fence that's pro-gun and a side of the fence that's pro, like, stricter gun laws, and the side of the fence that wants stricter gun laws, if you are a believer in all things conspiracy, like somebody's doing something for a reason. This shooting in Vegas is, hey, we need more gun laws, so promote it by this big shooting. But then what do people say who are on the pro-gun side when people like that say, oh, we need to take away the guns? They're like, well, if we take away the guns, they're going to use something else. They're going to use a truck or something to kill people with. And now all of a sudden, somebody kills somebody with a truck. Maybe this is like, well, see, I told you we don't need to take the guns away.
So are you saying that the conspiracy is that we don't need to take it away any liberties?
No, I'm just saying, I'm just trying to get all sides. Like, if it's just a two-sided thing, let's say, 'cause a lot of people who delve into the conspiracy theories are on one side or the other, and they're like, oh, it's just the liberals trying to take our
Right.
guns away. Well, if that's the case, then what if this is, oh, it's just the conservatives trying to point out that they don't need to take our guns away because they're going to
Okay.
kill us anyway. But I'm way past the thought that it's one side or the other. I'm in the
absolutely.
part of they're just out to get us, or they're,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
it's not a liberal conservative or a Republican Democrat thing anymore, or a socialist versus fascist or whatever you call it. It's them versus us, in my opinion. Like, it's a handful of bad, powerful people against the general public.
Yep, I would agree. And as we clearly don't have any answers further than that, and we're just throwing out what we know, I'm going to wrap it up there. And if we come up with more stuff, maybe we'll put it out. Maybe we'll put it out in bonus content, because me and Craig, for those of you that aren't members of the Downers Club, we talk on a pretty regular basis about way more ridiculous stuff than this, and just what's going on in our lives, and it's a whole lot of nonsense and fun. So if you're interested in that, go check it out in the Downers Club at tsidpod.com/support. But Craig, you got any plugs? Tell us what's going on in your life.
Well, no. No, I don't got any plugs.
Well, thanks for coming on. And I'm sure we will record some bonus content right now for the listeners in the Downers Club. And we are also going to talk about the blackout that might be happening in 2 days, which will make this entire episode null and void and make me feel like a complete piece of shit for wasting my life talking about this instead of being with my family before I die. So
Maybe this attack is to distract us from the blackout that's about to happen.
you can't distract from a nationwide blackout.
Just saying, if we're all looking at these terrorists and stuff, nobody's delving into, hey, I heard somebody said this once, but there's terrorists attacking, so why are you even talking about that?
Oh, save it. Save it for the bonus content.
All right, fine. I just want to give somebody a little nugget. And then
I
maybe
appreciate that.
maybe they'll go give us $1 just to listen to.
Yep.
That's if the blackout doesn't happen in the first place.
Yeah. What are the well, yeah. It doesn't really matter
Don't say
because
that. Don't say that.
by the time they're listening to this, it'll be on Monday, which means the blackout either did or didn't happen. So it's not going to really encourage them to go listen to that. But it'll be a fun discussion anyway, and we're going to talk about the potential impending doom that we all have. Craig, thanks for coming on.
Yep.
Peace.
Deuces.
Hey guys, thanks for sticking around to the end. If you enjoyed my discussion with Craig, like I said, we do this pretty frequently, typically at least once or twice a week, where we get together and chat about things that are going on in the news, the latest conspiracy talk, things that are going on in our life, things that we want to do with the show, and just a whole bunch of behind-the-scenes content. So if you're interested in that, or the extended interviews that I typically do with my guests, or the vast variety show of bonus content that we have available, you can find that by going to tsidpod.com/support, and for only $1, you can sign up for the Downers Club and help us build this show and get a bunch of delightful content. And like I said at the top of the show, if you have any disagreements or if you've found different things from what I've found, it doesn't mean that I'm trying to deceive you. It just means that I'm not as brilliant as you are. So please come share your knowledge with me by joining our forum at tsidpod.com/forum. Also be sure to go subscribe and review the show on iTunes. That would be fantastic. Check us out on Twitter and Facebook. Do all that stuff, and I'll be back here next week with some more uncomfortable conversations for you. So until then, question everything and stay uncomfortable. Thanks. This has been a Goulash Media production. goulashmedia.net.
This concludes our broadcast day.
Click.